Hello everyone, welcome to Majesty's Records. If you're not subscribed to our channel, please subscribe. Today I'm going to continue with my series for you gospel music recording ministers. If you are interested in recording your music, going into a studio recording your music, and for those of you generally who are in praise and worship music, either in church, then these teachings are relevant for you. So I encourage you to share this out also with your friends, your fellow ministers, your friends who are recording their music in studio and want to grow. These teachings will be very relevant for that group of people. So last time I talked about the heart and skill. Today I'm going to talk about a different subject, and that is, now for example, you're ready to go to studio. How do you select a recording studio? Or what are some of the things you need to know in your process of deciding which studio you're going to work with? There are a few things which are critical that will help you in that process. I know for many it's just a random thing they do. They hear about a studio somewhere, about a certain producer, and they run straight there because that producer has released a popular song. And so they believe if I do my song in that studio, then my music is going to be successful. It's understandable. But today I'm going to make this, more logical, kind of break it down step by step and give you technical analysis about the process of selecting a recording studio. And I'm assuming that I'm speaking to gospel music recording musicians. Okay, so I have some slides going on as usual, and I'll put a link in the description below the video. You'll find a link where you can download the slides in case you want to teach a group of people or for your own reference. Then these slides will be very helpful for you. Okay, so this is the Gospel Music Ministry Academy. We have a recording studio here in Ruiru Town. You can get in touch with us if you'd like gospel music recording services. Our contacts are right there on the slide. Now today I'm going to talk to you about how you choose a recording studio. Yes, we are a recording studio, and there's some things we've observed over time, and there's some advice and guidelines that I believe will be helpful to you as you go along the process of selecting a studio to record your next single or your next album. Now, the first concept or the first point that I would like you to consider anytime you're going to select a recording studio is your style of music. Some music producers may be good in certain styles of music and not others. Yes, we are naturally biased towards certain styles of music, depending on your environment, on the music environment that you live in, or the music environment that you've been brought up in before. If you've been brought up in an environment where there's a lot of reggae and rap and that kind of culture, you'll find that producer leaning much towards that side. If, for example, you're brought up in church like me, you may be more into the praise and worship kind of music. So different producers lean on different styles of music depending on their own preferences. Yes, many producers can produce many styles of music, but there's just a specific style in which a certain producer is strong at, and that will be very evident if you do what we are calling point number 2 on our slide: request to listen to a sample of their work in your style of music. So when you visit a studio, or if you can find their work online nowadays, listen to the kind of work they have done and find a studio or a producer who is able to bring out the style of music that you're doing in a good way. I have somebody who once told me they went to a studio, they were recording a worship album, but the producer they were working with was so much into hip hop and rap, and the worship album that he wanted to do ended up sounding like a hip hop record. You see, so it ended up sounding like a hip hop track and not really our praise and worship, kind of church recording that he wanted, that kind of feel. He didn't get it because he went to a producer who was into the hip hop and rap kind of music. So it's important that you ensure your producer really connects well with your style of music. I'm more of the praise and worship type of producer. If you come to my studio, I'm not so much into hip hop and rap. So I may not be very strong. I can do a hip hop or maybe a rap track, but that may really not be my area, my major style. Okay. Now, if you're working on an album, you can record your songs in different studios depending on their proficiency. So if you are doing an album and that album has a mixture of, different genres of music, you can work one of the songs with a certain producer whom you believe will do that track well, and then do another song at another studio. It will be tedious, yes, but at the end of the day, you're going to get a good blend. Okay. Again, if you do a whole album in one studio, one thing you have to understand is that the sound may almost end up sounding the same. So some people usually like working with different studios so they can get a variety of sounds in their album if that's what you want. Then that's another advantage of working with different studios if you're doing an album, so that you do one song here or two songs here, then you move to another place, so that you're only working with the best producer for each of the songs on your album. That's something to consider. Unless your songs, the producer you're working with can comfortably do all your songs, then no problem, go ahead. Now, the next point I'd like you to consider when you're selecting a studio is the equipment available at the studio. Depending on the nature of your project, some studios may be better equipped than others. For example, some have live production equipment, while others may only enable you to do programmed tracks. So you need to pay an extra attention to the quality of equipment if you are more tech savvy. For example, the drum quality, the quality of the microphones they have, the quality of keyboards and guitars that they have. I know for many recording musicians, you may not be so much into the tech side of things to know what is this microphone, a Focusrite, or is it a Newman? The microphones which are high end, different qualities. You may not be that technical, but for example, if you are doing a project, a live recording project, number one, the studio needs to have live equipment. Many studios nowadays that are coming up will only enable you to do programmed tracks, because all that is needed is a computer and a MIDI controller, and the producer can do some tracks. For example, the rap, more of the rap and the hip hop kind of music, and even more of the gospel music that happens nowadays is simple computer and a MIDI track. There are no live instruments. And of course, maybe the studio can add in some live guitars because it's a direct plug-in. But if you want something like live drums, or you want the band playing at the same time, then you need to go to a studio that has that capability. So, of course, if you're doing a live production, meaning you want a live music, everything live drums, live guitar, everything, and maybe everybody playing at the same time, or even if you're doing overdubs, then you need to ensure your studio has that kind of equipment. Now, in Kenya, for example, in our country, not so many studios have that kind of facility. But if you are really interested in getting a studio that can do you live music recording, get in touch with us. We have some recommendations, I think, that you can go and visit and look around. So pay attention to the equipment available depending on your project. So some studios may not have the kind of equipment that you want for your project. Okay. Now, the third thing is spiritual consideration. As a gospel music minister, you may find it more appropriate working with a gospel music producer because they connect better with church music and they also carry the right spirit behind the music. This is a very subjective topic. Different musicians will have different opinions about this. But if you're a gospel music minister, my personal recommendation would be work with a music producer who is also a Christian, born-again Christian. It will help you a lot. Number one, and most important thing, the kind of spirit a music producer carries will be somehow printed in your music. Now, those are spiritual concepts. If you are a person of faith, you understand what I mean. For example, there are many people who record music at our studio because they know we restrict ourselves to gospel music. We don't do secular music. And when I say secular, we can record some projects which are not gospel music, but they may be corporate projects, maybe promos, advertisements, but nothing straight secular music, as you understand secular music. We don't do that. And there are clients who are comfortable working with us because they know we only deal with 100% gospel music, and we are Christians. Now that helps a lot even in the process of production, because I can be able to connect more spiritually with the project I'm working with, and I'm able to even contribute into the lyrics, some spiritual concepts and lyrics and ideas and scriptures that I believe will enhance the message that the singer is trying to communicate. Okay, and if somebody comes and maybe there's a doctrinal issue in the song that they are producing, I'm also better placed to advise that person and tell them, okay, from a spiritual angle, I think there's something we may need to adjust or correct at this point, or we can add in this scripture. We can, maybe we are looking for an extra verse, and I can bring in some scripture to build up on the song, because this is a gospel song. We are evangelizing, number one. We are preaching, most important of it. We are trying to communicate the gospel through this song. So working with a born-again Christian, a Christian producer, will have that advantage. They'll be able to contribute spiritual concepts to your song, and they also carry the right spirit. I don't know if you would be comfortable as a gospel musician getting into a studio, and the person who had just been recording with the producer a few minutes ago was a secular musician, and the kind of song that they were singing on that microphone, you know, the kind of atmosphere that is in the studio at that moment is nothing close to an atmosphere that encourages worship, you know, the kind of music that you want to do. Those are things I would let you consider. Okay, now for example, if you prefer working and hiring a studio because it has good facility, they may not be a Christian studio, but I would advise you in that case to move into that studio with your producer, your Christian producer. There are studios which allow you to come with your producer to do your project, okay? So that you work with your producer. You can, it can be a commercial facility, a commercial studio, but if you can locate a Christian producer to work with you in that facility, so that you're just hiring the facility, then well and good. Get into the studio, make a prayer, you know, consecrate the place, and work with your producer, somebody who flows and connects with your spirit. You understand? So the producer you work with will have a spiritual and also a technical impact on the kind of project that you're doing. So I'd like to encourage you to consider that. Number 4, your budget. It looks obvious, but let's talk about this. Studios will either charge you at an hourly rate or per project. So for example, a studio will tell you, for every hour that you spend here, we're going to charge you, for example, $20, for example. That's about 2,000 Kenyan shillings. So you have to calculate your budget according to the amount of time you're going to spend at that studio. The more time you spend, the more you pay. So if you're well prepared, you can do more songs at a lesser price. You understand that? And then there are studios like ours where we'll charge you per project. We'll tell you, okay, each song is about $100 or 10,000 shillings or $70, whatever the price is. And it doesn't matter how long you stay in the studio, but we encourage you to come when you're well prepared, so it will take as little time as possible. But the rate is flat. So ensure that you know how the studio charges and which mode of payment you'll be comfortable with. Are you more comfortable with the hourly rate studio or the project-based kind of payment? So you need to be honest with your budget, but do not compromise the quality of the project just to save a few coins. I encourage you as a musician, if you're ready to record your music, please ensure that you organize your finances well. Don't rush into it and just get some 2,000 or 3,000 shillings somewhere and rush to a studio because they charge 3,000 shillings because you want to get your project out in a hurry. You have to consider the kind of quality you're going to get, because once you do a song, it's going to be on the shelf for the rest of your life. Your grandchildren are going to ask you, hey grandpa, hey grandma, what are you singing here? So please be patient. I would say be patient. Do one song at a time. One quality song is enough than 10 poorly done songs. Okay, ensure that if you just need 5,000 shillings more to get into a good studio and work with a good producer, don't sacrifice that for quality, because there's a studio next door that just charges you 1,000 shillings to do a song. So be honest with your budget, but don't compromise on the quality. Be patient. An expensive studio is not necessarily going to give you excellent service. Put all the other factors into consideration. Again, there are many people who think because that studio charges 20,000, then they must be doing a great job. That studio is charging 5,000. Maybe they are not doing a very good job. That's why they are charging cheap. As I said, listen to the kind of music they have done. Just request them to send you some links if they have some music online, some of the music that they have done before. Let them send you some links and judge according to the quality. According to the quality of music you hear and not the price. Sometimes I've had friends who have gone to very expensive studios, but if you listen to the kind of quality of music that has come out, it's not anything in comparison with the price. And sometimes I just tell them, hey man, just come over to my studio and I'm going to give you good music. Organize your finances in such a way that you do a project to completion within a specific time frame, and avoid abandoning projects in studios. Gospel musicians, please avoid abandoning your projects in studios. And this is mainly due to lack of organization. You don't have a time frame for your project. You just say, I've some music, or I want to start recording some music. You get into a studio without a specific time frame for how long are you going to record, how many songs are you recording, and within what time frame do you want to complete this recording? Because now that will also cause you now to think about your budget. Am I financially able to record this project within this particular time? It will also help you to organize your finances and save, put aside some savings if you need to, for that project to be recorded within that time frame. So having specific time frame, for example, I want to record 6 songs, and I'll record those 6 songs this year, the year of 2021, for example, next year. So I'll do a song every 2 months. Okay, a song every 2 months. At the end of the year, I'll have 6 songs, and that will give me enough time to plan financially and prayerfully for each project, for each song, and I'll be able to give each song my best. So have a time frame. We have this habit of gospel singers, abandoning projects in studios, and it's not a good habit. If you get into that habit, you're just gonna get used to it. You start a project in this studio, after some time you abandon it, you go to another studio, start another project, you abandon it. Okay, you finish one project here, but you have a string of uncompleted projects behind you. It's not a good habit. Be somebody who is focused. When you initiate a project, have a timeline, have a budget, and do it to completion. Okay, that's a good discipline for you to have as a gospel music recording musician. Now, the next project, of course, we talked about the project timeline, had preempted this. Set a timeline for your project. Don't run undefined and random projects, please. Some studios may be too busy to fit into your project timeline. Yes, you may want to do your album within a month, but the studio may be too busy and they may not be able to complete your album within a month. So ensure you know the timeline of the studio. Ask them after how long is my project going to be complete. Find out whether that fits with your schedule. You may need to work with 2 or more studios if you if you want to complete your project faster, and you want to work within the timelines. You may have to split your project between several studios. Okay, so be very clear with your timelines. You can consider recording your songs concurrently in different studios in order to meet your project timeline. Now, the next thing that you need to consider, very important when you are selecting a studio, is your skill level. Your skill level. Big studios and established producers may not be very patient with beginners because of the time factor. You've heard your favorite gospel singer has produced, a song with a certain big producer, and that song is very successful on the radio, and you say, oh, I also want to go there and do my song in that studio. Okay. Yeah, it's a common temptation among many upcoming gospel music producers to work with big studios and big producers. But one thing I want you to know, you may just get chased away if you are still a beginner. You still have a problem with your pitch. You can't sing within the key throughout the song. You can't follow the beat very well. The big studios and big producers who are very busy and they handle major clients who are successful and established and experienced musicians in the market, they may not be very patient with you if you are still a beginning musician. Okay? So you may go to that big studio and become very frustrated at the end of the day. So if you're just starting out, consider working with middle-level studios as you grow. Start with a middle-level studio that is doing good work. And don't get into that hurry of, I want a hit song, I want a hit song, I want a hit song, and I want my song to be successful. It's not the producer or the studio that will make your song successful, although that contributes. But be patient. Be patient. Start with a producer who is not as busy and maybe not as famous as that big studio, because they'll have more time with you. They'll be more patient with you. They'll give you opportunities to learn. They'll give you a lot of information. They'll help you learn, and you'll grow together with them. That is very important if you're just starting off. If you're an established musician and your name is out there, your music is out there, everybody knows your ability to sing, then you can go to any major studio, and in fact they will be crying just to have you record with them, because they know when your song is successful, then their name is also successful. Okay? The most important factor is the proficiency of the producer and not the big name of the recording studio. Put that in mind. The excellence of your project is the best selling point and not the name of the studio. Do you have good lyrics? Do you have a good voice? Have you developed your skill? If you have not listened to the message that we did before, please go and listen to the previous message about the heart and skill. Have you developed your skill well enough? Do you have good lyrics? Okay, do you have good musical arrangements? Then focus on the quality of the product that you're offering. That is your song. Focus on the quality. Give your best. That's the most important selling point. Okay? The quality of the project. Now, of course, the easiest way, and one of the ways that I would recommend you to begin with, is getting referrals from your friends. You have friends who have recorded music before. Just go around and ask them, okay, why did you record your music? If you like what was done on their project, then, pay a visit to the specific studio. Now, why is this important? Is because apart from just recording music, producers are also human beings. And the experience of working with a certain producer may be very different with working with another producer. Talking about the personality of the producer you're going to find in that studio. Okay, I've had stories of friends who've gone to studios and the producer's character is even in question. Some ladies go into studio, the producer is approaching them and initiating some extra business activities in studio. If you get referrals from friends, you may really hold a certain producer on a very high pedestal and really respect that producer because he's a big producer and has done big projects, but their character may not meet that standard. So if you get a referral from somebody who has worked with that producer, ask those questions. What kind of a person is he, okay, or she? But most of the time is he. So if you are a lady, especially ladies, ask from your friends who've worked with certain producers, what kind of guy is that producer now as a person? What was your experience working with him? As I've said, I've had funny stories in studios. So when you get referrals, you are able to get clarification over those kind of issues, okay? So I believe the factors that we've talked about are will place you at least in a good place, so that you're not now ignorant, okay, about what you need to do. Number one, you said you need to consider your style of music. Go to a studio which will fit into your style. Number two, consider the equipment available at the studio. Do they have the facility to do the kind of project that you have, to the magnitude that you have, okay? The spiritual considerations. If you are a gospel musician, as we've said, we encourage you to record your music with producers who are born again, okay? And if you are hiring a commercial studio which does not necessarily do gospel music, it's advised that you move into that studio with your own producer who is a Christian. It will work to your advantage. And number four, your budget, of course. Plan your finances so that you're not abandoning your projects along the way. It takes a lot of time and effort to record music. You don't want to leave unfinished projects along the way. It also does not paint your name well among studios and producers, okay? And then project timelines. Have specific timelines. When do you want your project to start? When do you want it to be completed? Your skill level, you have to consider your skill level. If you're just starting out, consider working with mid-level studios before you go to the very, very, very top big producers, okay? And then get referrals, because when you get referrals, it will help you a lot of research, and you'll get more information about the studio and the producer you're going to work with even before you get there. And as I said, we have a recording studio in Ruiru town. This is now commercial time. Majesty's Records. You can get in touch with us, call, text, or WhatsApp. Our contacts are provided and our email is provided. If you get in touch with us and you want to record your music, we'll be able to advise you on the arrangement of your music. We can also help you out with your lyrics if you have a challenge with your lyrics. We're not the studio that just tells you, okay, stand on the microphone and sing, and then we give you your song and then you will leave. No, we work with you through the process to ensure that what you go out with from our studio is something that we can be proud of, is something we can stand in a multitude and say we are the ones who did that project with so and so, okay? So consider paying us a visit, and we believe you'll have a great working experience with us. So please subscribe to my channel if you've not done so, and share this information out with somebody whom you believe is going to benefit from this kind of teachings. I'm Emmanuel from Majesty's Records. Till next time, God bless you.